This is your host, Sir Patrick Mack. We're back once again, and I got a few things I want to talk at you about today. So grab that coffee, grab your neighbor. Wait, belay my last. Don't grab your neighbor. Maybe just grab the coffee. Don't grab your neighbor. I don't know what the Rona rules are in your state, all right? Maybe just tap your neighbor, or maybe just, just gesture towards your neighbor. Nod at him. Be like, hey, neighbor, you want to get prosciutto? And your neighbor could be like, yeah, I do want to get prosciutto. And thanks for putting on a pot of coffee and not grabbing me. Let's get started.
Gonna get prosciutto. Gonna get prosciutto.
All right, first things first, we are over at those guys map.pub. Once again, those guys map.pub. And as you can see, it says there's nothing here yet, as if it's in the past and there's nothing there yet. Well, we all know right now that there was something there. And me in the future, I would say there used to be something there and then there wasn't. But right now it says there's nothing here yet. But there was something there, 4,627 posts. And the last one was likely the one that got this one shut down. So let's take a look at that. And here it is right here. I'm afraid I don't know who to credit for the tweet, but this is what it looked like on the board before it went down. Watching the DNC last night, I noticed their logo. Now, where have I seen that uneven star before? Hiding in plain sight. And on the left side is the Democrat 2020 logo. And on the right side is the inverted satanic pentagram head of Baphomet. Seems like there's better ways to show your patriotism. Anyway, here it is again. And as you can see, somebody put the word death right there, implying death to America. So was that what they were trying to say? Well, I don't know, but it certainly looks suspect. And a lot of people on the interwebs seem to think so. Now, here's a little cool guy GIF that I stole from Tacticool. That's why it's a cool GIF. It's not tacted lame. Right, it's tactical because he's tactical, but not lame. Anyway, you can see the overlay on the stage itself. So, are the Democrats trying to tell us something? Well, those guys are implying that they are, and I think we all feel the same. The rest of the post says, one party discusses God, one party discusses darkness. One party promotes God, one party eliminates God. Symbolism will be their downfall. The great deceivers. When was the last time you witnessed a D party leader being patriotic, exhibiting national pride or love of country? Well, it's been a hot minute, hasn't it? When was the last time you witnessed a D party leader speak out against the riots, violence in the streets? When was the last time you witnessed a D party leader support those who took an oath to protect and defend? When was the last time you witnessed a D party leader support and call for unity across our nation? All assets deployed. Information warfare, infiltration, destruction of America. Have faith in humanity. Have faith in yourself. United we stand. God wins. And I just want to point out that humanity as well as yourself is capitalized. That might just be a force of habit. It looks like a lot of things are capitalized in this post, as are a lot of these posts, but I just want to point it out. United we stand. God wins. Those guys. And that appears to be the last thing we saw before that site went down. Now keep in mind, those guys map.pub is not 8kun.net. It is not the same site. It is an aggregate site. It's a third-party site, so it's managed completely by something else. There's a lot of different connections there, but I would just say that it's another aggregate site, and I wouldn't worry about it too much. It could just be maintenance. It could be a lot of different things, but it is indeed down. I am flashing you a link to another site that appears to still be working. There haven't been any more recent recent post, but if you'd like to try this one out, you can go check it out and see for yourself. I'm not endorsing or decrying any of these sites. I just want to make sure that you have links to get the information for yourself. Here's our next story. Former Defense Department employee sentenced for public corruption while working at Sierra Army Depot and at a Naval Air Station Lemoore. Jeffrey Parsons, 44, of Dillon, Montana, was sentenced on Monday by U.S. District Judge Kimberly J. Mueller to 1 year in prison for conspiring to accept illegal gratuities on account of official actions and conspiring to sell government property without authority. Judge Mueller also ordered Parsons to forfeit to the United States over $230,000. According to court documents, Parsons was a civilian employee of the U.S. Department of Defense. In November 2009, Parsons began working as an environmental protection specialist at Sierra Army Depot in Herlong, California. He later held the same position at Naval Air Station Lemoore in Lemoore, California. In his official positions at SIAD and NASL, Parsons' responsibilities included the disposition, listen to this, of hazardous materials such as batteries, fuel, and oil. In October 2012, Parsons, his wife, and their associate, Travis Wong, agreed that Parsons would use his authority at SIAD to allow Wong to sell valuable materials from the installation, and that in return, Wong would pay Parsons and his wife a portion of his proceeds from the sales. After Parsons transferred to NASL, Parsons, his wife, and Wong continued their illegal scheme. Just as Parsons had done at SIAD, he abused his authority at NASL by allowing Wong to sell materials removed from the U.S. Navy base. Once again, Wong paid Parsons and his wife a portion of his proceeds from the sales. In total, Wong received approximately $314,000 from selling government property, and he said Parsons and his wife approximately $56,000. Wong made the illegal payments by checks payable to a company registered to Parsons' wife, as well as checks payable to Parsons' daughter. While carrying out their illegal scheme with Wong, Parsons and his wife also began a separate scheme. Specifically, Parsons allowed his wife to sell materials from SIAD to third-party recycling companies. Parsons' wife falsely represented to those companies that she and her company had a contract with SIAD or were otherwise authorized by SIAD to sell the recyclers' materials removed from the installation. In total, the recycling companies collectively paid Parsons' wife approximately $175,000. On March 16, Judge Mueller sentenced Wong to 3 years of probation and ordered him to forfeit to the United States approximately $314,000. Okay, so something is clearly wrong here. This guy Wong only got 3 years of probation, and he made over $300K doing this. Seems like many different instances, and this was coming from two different military installations. They were selling materials to third-party recycling companies. We've also seen a rash of recycling company fires, some of them being plastics and some of them being electronics, but we're seeing a rash of fires. Is just because of the hot weather and exploding batteries? It is possible. We saw one in Knoxville, Tennessee that was kind of like this last year, but we've seen so many fires that we can't help but think there's something up here, right? Athens, Minneapolis, Ohio, a few in the UK. I mentioned Knoxville last year, Croatia, and we had the Carolina fire, which is the one that you're looking at right now. And then, of course, we had the big one over there in Texas in Grand Prairie, which is this one here. Tons and tons of black smoke. So what's causing all these fires? Is it simply just a natural phenomenon? I would be perfectly willing to accept that. However, if we've seen this before, and we have, I mentioned Knoxville last year, how come we haven't seen a rash of fires like this before? I don't remember the great fires of 2015. I don't remember the great plastics fires of 2009. You get what I'm saying, right? It seems to be a ton of fires right now. Now, I want to thank DeSantis Little Helper for sending me this article from Greenpeace. This was written in June, so a little while back, but I think this might add a little extra insight. Keep in mind, this is from Greenpeace. While the world is rightly preoccupied with tackling COVID-19, oil companies are pushing to produce more single-use plastic than ever before. So what do we need to know about plastic in the age of COVID-19? And for those of you who are not familiar with COVID-19, we call that the Rona, which I don't have. No offense if you do. During these stressful times, we must listen to science, not industry lobbyists. The oil and plastics industry wants you to think that you and your family are safer when your food, drinks, and other products are wrapped in plastic. But health experts around the world agree that reusables can be used safely during the COVID-19 pandemic. Nearly 130 scientists, academics, and doctors from 19 countries signed on to a statement today reassuring retailers and consumers that reusable systems can be utilized safely during the pandemic by employing basic hygiene. The experts, along with Greenpeace USA and Upstream, both members of the Break Free from Plastic movement, note that household disinfectants have been proven effective at disinfecting hard surfaces such as reusable cups and containers. But here's the kicker. Plastic is indispensable in healthcare settings, and there are many reasons why plastic is the material of choice for personal protective equipment used to protect essential workers from COVID-19. But there's a big difference, listen up, between PPE and packaging for food and other goods. Even so, the oil and plastics industry have been peddling myths in the media and to politicians in an attempt to make single-use plastic acceptable again. Okay, so this appears to be a complicated story. Here we have all these fires, and they're occurring mostly at these recycling plants that are recycling mostly plastics. And you have a group like Greenpeace that really advocates against the single-use plastic because of all the oil and the drilling and the da-da-da-da. We could debate all that kind of stuff till we're blue in the face, and you can feel how you want about that. But the only point I want to make is that this appears to be another layer in the age-old battle for oil. Meanwhile, you have the Trump administration opening up the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge to oil companies, and then you've got all these different groups that are going to be suing because of that. I imagine Greenpeace being one of them. This is from the Center for Biodiversity as of the 25th. Breaking, we just sued the Trump administration to block oil and gas leasing in the pristine Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. Now, oddly enough, the group that is working with Greenpeace, that Upstream, they are a Norwegian media outlet. Norway themselves are drilling even further north than the Trump administration, and that's not doing very well for their own relations with Russia. And now we have this skirmish that happened in Syria with 4 U.S. troops being injured, and that appeared to be a little battle with Russian forces. We don't have all the information on that just yet, but I would imagine those Russian forces were part of the groups that were guarding the oil out there. At the same time, you have Iran cranking out the oil, and they're cranking it out in order to sell it dirt cheap to China. That's right, that's part of this $400 billion deal. That kind of goes against U.S. sanctions that are currently imposed on Iran. Now, $280 billion of this deal is for the oil, and the rest is essentially for infrastructure and transportation. But China is facilitating this whole thing in exchange for being able to buy dirt cheap oil for the next 25 years. Keep in mind, this is all going on while China is doing multiple drills in the South China Sea and rattling the war drums near Taiwan. Taiwan is taking it very seriously at this point. And it appears that Iran is perfectly willing to facilitate all of this. Now, there is a 5G package involved with this, but essentially what this $400 billion deal is doing is it's getting China's foothold in Iran, in their infrastructure, in their real estate, into the area in general. And we know what's going on with China right now with their flooding, so we can see why China is starting to expand across the globe. But this is why I think this is important, and I've been talking about this on my channel for quite some time. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm constantly reminding people to keep their eye on the Spratly Islands. We know military drills have been done there for years, but I do think that something will eventually go down in this area, and I'll get to that in just a second. But let's keep in mind that China's expansionist ideals have always been there, but currently with their panic situation with their Three Gorges Dam, they're sort of forced to have to do some of this in a way. They've got to self-preserve, right? But what they love to do is they love to deal with these countries where they know they can't pay the debt back. So they invest all this money, very much like this $400 billion deal, money that they know probably won't get paid back. Well, how will they be repaid? They'll simply take a port. And we've seen this time and time again. We've seen it in South America. We've seen it in Australia. And now we're starting to see it in the Middle East. But this is also a public shot across the bow because we know that China has been sanctioned for buying Iranian oil in the first place. So this, if they do finally sign this deal, they finalize this $400 billion deal, this will be a public announcement that yes, indeed, we are working with Iran, who we all know would love to see death to the United States of America. This is a very public announcement of who's on whose side. And it makes China a valid player in the Middle East, and eventually that will expand northward too. We've talked about how they've been working with the Russians in the Arctic region. Now, I'm not much of a gambler, but if I were a wagering fella, I would imagine this $400 billion deal is indeed not only going to go down, but probably going to be a door opening to multiple deals coming forward. After all, China has put decades of effort into making sure a deal like this does go down. And we see this in the development of the Spratly Islands. Knowing what we know now and seeing how these shipping routes work, we know that this is not only the most hotly contested area on the planet, it's the most logical place for superpowers to have a dispute. And we know that this is essentially a gateway to the trading routes that take us all throughout Southeast Asia, which is why Southeast Asia is contesting this. Now, I want to show you a quick video from CSIS. This is an American think tank group. Check this out.
The South China Sea is the most contested piece of geography on the planet. The largest recent deployment we've seen of this militia has taken place over the last 7 months around Thitu Island, which is occupied by about 100 Filipino civilians and a small military contingent. China has had dozens of these militia boats surrounding the island every day. On a shot from December 20th, what you see is 95 Chinese boats, the heaviest day that we have monitored around this feature. Every one of them are large, none of them broadcasting the signals that they should be to avoid collisions, none of them with nets or other gear in the water, none of them fishing. They just sit there for long periods of time, monitoring and intimidating the Filipinos.
So there you go, and putting all that time and effort only shows that they have every intention to make sure deals like this go down. They want this oil, they're ready to expand, they see something going forward, and they're willing to put all this time, effort, and money into it. Now, the U.S. is claiming that they've scoped out some submarines going in and out of what they suspect may be an underground base in these Spratly Islands. They have also suggested that there could be WMDs there. Now, to be fair, we've heard that claim before. But like I said, over the decades, we've seen the development of this entire area, which suggests that it is likely true.
Gonna get pursued. Gonna get pursued.
Finally, let me leave you with this. As many of you know, depending on where you are in the world, it was either today or yesterday was National Dog Day. That's right, boys and girls, and we've been talking about dogs for quite some time. Yours truly has been going on and on and on about the dogs for nearly 2 years. And if you're not familiar with the whole idea behind these dog communications and some of the theories that may be involved with all of this, I highly suggest you go back to the original video entitled Very Good Boy, and that was from a while back. This will kind of set you on course, but it all kind of started with a couple of different stories, one involving James Comey and one involving a particular senator from Arizona who is no longer with us, whose name we will not say. But those guys did happen to mention that every dog has its day, and later on that year, that very same no-named senator passed away on National Dog Day. Please go back and check out my video entitled Very Good Boy. But this is from the U.S. Secret Service, who says today is hashtag National Dog Day. You already know it is coming. Stick around for the day to see our Secret Service canines. And as you can see, this is posted on the hour. Your timestamps might be different, but I want to point out that every single one of these, except for one, was posted on the hour. This one appears to be in D.C., and I know some of you dog lovers will probably correct me. This appears to be a Belgian Malinois. That's my guess. If that is indeed correct, I believe this is the same breed that was the one that took down al-Baghdadi, a big popular breed for the U.S. Secret Service. I'm sure there's going to be some dog geek that's going to be like, well, actually, it's a Perséphone Malinois. It's a Perséphone Malinois. I don't know. It's just a good dog, all right? This one right here, they get to protect Air Force One. And this one has a collar that says Prince. I wonder if that's a reference. Maybe that's just the dog's name. Maybe we're talking about a prince. Maybe we're talking about a European prince. Maybe we're talking about a Saudi prince. Maybe we're talking about Eric Prince, who's likely to make the news very soon. Hint, hint, wink, wink. This one's at the beach or places like the beach. This one's a cute one. I like this one a lot. Our canines also travel to places like Mount Rushmore. There's a lot of secure areas around Mount Rushmore. Good boy. And this one's at the Orlando Magic game. This is about the only one at the game. They travel to Orlando, hashtag National Dog Day. And then we got this beautiful one right here. They get to protect helicopters. So it looks like the Secret Service is putting a shout out, putting people on blast, letting them know that we are indeed everywhere. Well, what does a good boy do after a long day? And finally, after a long, hard day, they rest. It's such a cutie. But this one's not a Belgian Malinois or a Brussels Malinois or German Shepherd. I don't know what it is. It's not the same dog. This one appears to be a Labrador, a retriever. So it sounds like maybe there's a little mix up in your signals there, but there you go. There is your dog thread for the day. I want to note that every one of them, except for this one on the beach, was on the hour. This one was exactly on the half hour, but there you go. That's all I got for you for now. I'll leave you with this one last thing. Kamala Harris reportedly has chosen her Secret Service identification name, and it happens to be Pioneer. Yep, that's right. Oprah says it's because of her trailblazing status. She's such a trailblazer, blazing all those trails. Well, let's have a look-see at Merriam-Webster. Number 1, a member of a military unit, usually of construction engineers. Yeah, she's probably going to get to work on that 5th column. 2A, a person or group that originates or helps open up a new line of thought or activity or a new method or technical development. B, one of the first to settle in a territory. Or 3, a plant or animal capable of establishing itself in a bare, barren, or open area and initiating an ecological cycle. An ecological cycle. That sounds frightening, but it sounds like she's a pioneer. She's a trailblazer, blazing herself a trail, that Kamala Harris. That's all I got for you for now. As always, if you like this video, please click like, share, and subscribe. All my links are down below if you're on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, you can always check me out on Twitter, and my alternate links are pinned down there, as well as my email. If you've got information for me, please do not DM me on Twitter, as I do not answer them. That's all I got. This is Sir Patrick Mack, and until next time, stay funky.